And a good Wednesday morning, Quad Cities. It is Wednesday, May 21st. Already more than halfway through the month of May. I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
I'm weather anchor Peter Warner. You just, wow. I mean, I know the date, but it doesn't feel like it.
It does not, especially today.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, man, it still feels like the early part of May with these temperatures.
Say even mid-April.
Yeah.
Potentially.
My goodness, it is chilly. We're going to talk more about this chilly air, when we're going to see some more warmth. I want to welcome you into Ask Andrew Live. If this is your first time, welcome. Bring a friend next time, will you? Maybe a family member if they're around at this time. Don't forget, you can also get this on repeat too. It's available on the DVR on the 8 Plus app at any time. You can go back and watch. If you're new to this, your questions, how do you get them to us? Well, the best way
Text them.
is text messaging, and we've got that number at the bottom of your screen right there, 309-304-0888, 309-304-0888.
309-304-0888.
Very good, very good. You know, I've been told I've said that in my sleep a couple of times, so I know I've got that memorized for sure.
Oh my goodness. It's pretty easy to memorize. The last three are especially.
Yeah, those are easy. They're our favorite number around here.
They are.
So we're going to be taking your weather-related questions coming up in just a few moments. Before we get to that, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about weather that's been going on, not just here, but across the country. We're also going to talk about what we talked about earlier this week for Ask Andrew. That was sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
And Peter did a knockout job on this. In fact, it was so good, I said, you know what? I am borrowing this for Ask Andrew on Monday, and borrow indeed. I did do. So let's do a little weather talk here really quickly, and then we'll dive into those questions, and then we'll get right to your questions. And our awesome folks on the digital team, they will take your question and put it in the chat for us, so we'll be able to see that. The big story that we have had going on in the last 24 to 48 hours has been the rain. Oof. And the thunderstorms. Yeah. We had numerous tornado warnings across the region last night. Thankfully, no confirmed tornadoes as of right now. We're keeping in contact with the folks in the National Weather Service office. They're not mentioning about any damage surveys today or anything like that. So that's some good news. We did have some wind damage, and we'll go over that in a second. But here's the big impressive thing, are these rainfall numbers. And I'm going to ask if Matt can drop our banner for just a brief second so you can see Clinton and Maquoketa on the screen there too. Thank you very much. I got to move those numbers up so they're banner safe. Yes. But here we'll go ahead and we'll show you those here. More than 4 inches in Moline. Whew. 4 inches.
4.29.
Yeah. And I had to go way, way back. In fact, I spent most of the breakfast break doing this.
You did.
June 30th, 2014 is the last time that we had a single day rainfall that either matched close to 4 inches or surpassed it. In that case, it was like 5 inches worth of rain. Wow. But everything else was at a lower amount. So I went back, it was 5.1 inches on June 30th. And then to find something that was close to that, I had to go to 2017 at 3.3 inches.
Wow.
So I had to go way back. That's how long it's been since we've seen that much rain in a single day, just one day.
And that was 4.29 inches in a single day.
So yesterday the record was 3.5.
Okay.
So this is including yesterday and this morning.
There we go.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's where I'm basing that number off of. Mm-hmm. But it was crazy that I had to go back that far. It was like, I didn't think it was that long ago.
Oh, we were blown away by the Des Moines numbers on Monday, and we just took them and ran with them as well.
You guys broke a record. We broke a record. Yeah, I mean, records just falling all over the place. Yeah. So first we broke the record high temperatures last week. This week we're breaking record rainfall numbers, and that's okay. We needed the rainfall.
We did, very bad.
Yeah.
And we're handling it very well, too, because of the dry ground.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of fields that had a little standing water here and there. But by and large, I think we came out of this pretty good, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, with these totals, it could have been a little bit more interesting, you could say.
Oh, yeah, especially if that ground was already soaked with water. This could have been a lot worse. Talking about the severe weather yesterday, looking at the post-storm report or recap of these storms that came through. We put the radar loop on there for you. Just a blossoming of thunderstorm activity right after GMQC at 11. Guess what model ended up being kind of right here? The rapid refresh for once.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. We talked about that yesterday during our severe storm discussion, that we thought that model, was kind of overdoing things with that line of storms around Interstate 80. Well, guess what happened? that model actually performed quite well yesterday. It actually did a little bit better than our in-house model. So there's no hail reports. That was kind of shocking because we did have a pretty conductive atmosphere for that. No tornado reports. The tornado report you see north of Iowa City was a funnel cloud report, nothing that touched the ground. We had one damaging wind report. That was it. But I have a feeling there were more than that. This is just the only one that was measured at 50 miles an hour, and that was in New Boston. Nice little circulation coming up through there that James was tracking yesterday. 5 reports of damage, both trees and power lines, multiple reports of those. And we had almost 30 reports, more than 24 reports of heavy rain.
Wow.
The largest report that we saw, this is from a storm report, by the way, not by weather stations, which is what I go use to get the rainfall totals, was just about 4 inches in LeClaire.
My goodness.
So it was busy. Thankfully, not in terms of tornadoes.
Thank goodness.
You know, that was our worry yesterday as we were juicing up the atmosphere and spinning things that we could see a couple of those. So we had a few warnings, one including here in the Quad Cities. We had one in Geneseo yesterday, too. Much of Henry County was under a tornado warning. But as of right now, again, there's no confirmed tornadoes sightings, and there's no confirmed tornado damage.
Yes, which is good news.
Yeah.
And we got the good soaking rain we wanted to.
Exactly. We did finally get the rain out of there, which is good. So we're going to be watching the drought outlook for the next couple of weeks. We get a new one tomorrow. That will not reflect what we've gotten with rain this week. We're going to have to wait another week or two for all that data to be ingested.
Yes.
So don't expect me coming back tomorrow and seeing that map wiped clean. That's not going to happen.
It only goes through about Monday, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's usually about a week or two delayed, and then we'll see that data. But I am really interested to see how that's all going to shape up. The rain that is left, it's winding down. I will say these are efficient little rain showers this morning coming in. Just had to have the wipers on kind of that higher speed, even though it wasn't like, yellow and oranges on the radar. I mean, this was just light looking rain on the radar, but they're efficient little suckers.
They're good, steady rainfall you're getting out of it. Nothing crazy. Like I remember yesterday when I was driving home after GMQC at 11, that was dumping. That's like your yellow, your reds.
Yes.
But this is still that good moderate rainfall that just kind of, in those darker blue colors, that comes down at just a consistent, steady rate that helps get those totals a lot higher.
Yeah, the raindrops yesterday were huge.
They were massive. I thought it was hail for a second.
It kind of sounded like it,
sounded like
didn't
it. It was so big and heavy.
It was crazy. Those are the kind of that I was hoping for, though, because we all needed a little free car wash after all the pollen and the dust and everything. So those big raindrops helped with that. So these are the last of the showers. We're going to track those out of here by the afternoon. And once we do that, we'll have a lot of clouds, but we're not going to see a whole lot of warmth. And that's the theme going on into the weekend. I know there's a lot of pools opening this weekend. We've got the one in Moline opening, a few more. If you're going to be doing that, as long as you're in the sun, I think you're okay. But even Sunday into Monday, look at the wind. We're going to have double-digit wind speeds. It is going to be a little chilly heading into the Memorial Day weekend. But it is dry. It is dry.
I'll take the dry. I was really hoping. My apartment pool opens this weekend.
That's
so
what I thought. I'll have to see how many people venture out there and see if they take a dip.
Yeah. I might try it. Might as well.
If it's heated, if it's a heated pool, that's a pretty good
perfect,
thing.
Yes.
Might not be too
I don't know
bad.
if mine's heated, though.
You'll find out.
We'll find out.
So your assignment, Peter, is on Memorial Day to dip your toes in the water of your pool there in your apartment complex.
Put them in there
and
I'll see.
Report back.
I'll update it.
Okay. So next Wednesday, for Ask Andrew Live, we're going to ask him how the pool was.
I'll take a video and I'll just bring it all.
Sounds good. We like evidence around here. So our question this week, 2 questions we had. The one today was about dry lines. You had an awesome explainer about sunscreen.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you take the reins on that
Start
puppy
with that one.
and talk about the sunscreen, because I learned quite a number of things.
Yeah.
Once I learned how to do the math correctly and the formula about sunscreen. It was actually really cool.
It's really interesting, and it is sunscreen season. Typically, I guess, starting this weekend, you start to see people boating, they're going to their pools are opening, but what does SPF even mean? Because you see that on every bottle, right?
You do, and it sticks out.
You see it. Well, it means sun protection factor. Now, what does that sun protection factor actually do? Well, it measures how long the sunscreen will protect you from UVB rays. I really want to emphasize the UVB, because that's different than the UVA. UVA rays are typically the ones that kind of reach deeper almost into your skin, you could say.
Okay.
And those are the ones that can cause a little bit more aging and kind of wrinkling, and also have a better chance of causing skin cancer than those UVB rays.
Oh, okay.
So UVB only actually is what SPF applies to, not your UVA. So the higher SPF, that's a better protection against that UVA, and also kind of depends on if you get the chemical or if you get the mineral sunscreen. Mineral sunscreens are a little bit better when it comes to those UVA rays because it goes into your skin, it gets absorbed rather than the chemical
Oh, it's
ones
the
that sit on the top.
absorption. Okay.
So
All right.
typically if you're spending more time outside, you want to take a mineral one because that gets absorbed rather than sit on that layer. But yeah, UVB rays are a little bit different than those UVAs. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, when you look at the number, what does the number mean? Because that's a little confusing as well. I honestly didn't really know that much about it until I dug deeper into it. Well, you multiply that number by 10. So that's your time that it can kind of protect you without burning. Take, for example, it has an SPF of 30. Multiply that by 10. That's 300 minutes.
Wow.
But then you take into account activities. And that significantly can decrease that time. So say you're spending, and I guess 300 minutes is 5 hours. But if you're at the pool swimming in that water, that number drastically decreases to more about 90 to 120 minutes once you start sweating and getting that water on there. So SPF 30, say by the pool, only protects you for about 90 minutes to 120. So that's about 1.5 to 2 hours. So that's something to take into account. So, well, what does that mean, say, for different activities because of that calculation? Well, so you're going to a baseball game, softball game. This kind of, I think, would apply to a pool too. You usually go for about 3 hours, give or take, right? You want to get a mineral sunscreen because, again, that'll get absorbed. So the pool, that won't wash it off, or when you start sweating, that won't kind of wash it off. That'll protect you for about 3 hours if you get the SPF 50 once you start sweating and stuff. For farming and construction, I know farming season's kind of into full swing now. We're starting to see that a little bit more. Definitely 50 at least, and reapply as much as possible, at least that every 2 hour range, like I was saying, because you want to make sure you're getting protected because you start sweating even when you're doing construction as well. Errands, quick walk, that one, a chemical base is probably a little bit better. That 30 minutes, say you're spending about an hour on a quick walk, chemical base with 30 is probably okay.
And the biggest thing that stuck out that I learned from this, not only the calculation of the numbers, but the different formulas of these sunscreens, that chemical versus the mineral.
Yes.
I didn't know there was a difference. I was like, oh, I just thought they were all kind of had the same formulation. One was just stronger than the other.
Yeah, mineral gets absorbed into your skin while the chemical just sits on top. That's kind of the easiest way to distinguish the two.
Wow. Okay.
So, very interesting.
Yeah, I learned quite a bit from that I didn't even know. So now I know when I go purchase my sunscreen next, I know which one I need to get. Or maybe get a couple based on your activity.
Depends what you're doing.
Very interesting. So you did a great job with that.
Thank you.
Very nice job. And of course, the folks at our Des Moines station, they got to see that first.
They did.
You debuted that last week, I think, wasn't it, when we were heating up?
A week ago, yeah, last week when that SPF started to reach that 8 level, I was like, you know what, I think it's about time. We got Iowa Cubs games at home that weekend.
Yes.
Gotta get that checked off.
Yeah, so that was a great timing for that. And yeah, again, great work, especially with this. This is very relatable. And if you want a copy of this, by the way, it's on WQAD.com. That graphic is there. So it's not a bad idea to take a picture of it, maybe put it in your phone for reference the next time you're at your grocery store or your pharmacy or convenience store, wherever you get your sunscreen. You can pull out that picture or, just go to the website and search for it. There's your guide in terms of which one you should get based on the activity that you're going to be doing. This is something that I should have learned myself over the weekend. I wish I could show my arms. I can't show them very well because I've got that dress shirt on, but went to the River Bandits game on Sunday.
Yep.
I know you were there on Saturday, but what did I forget in the car? And of course, once you get into the game, you can't get out and get back in again. And I forgot my sunscreen. So baking in the sun for about 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. Yeah, my arms are as red as can be. And I learned a very valuable lesson. I'm actually going to go get some of those mini packets of sunscreen now to start packing with me in case I forget the actual bottle. Because at least they're a little bit more portable.
The reason why this also came to my mind,
why?
I got burned the weekend before.
You got burned the weekend before? Okay, yep,
So,
see?
It caught me too.
It just goes to show that, we're human too.
We're human too.
And we make those mistakes.
We know these things, but then we're like, or sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll get tan. No, just red.
Exactly. It just goes right through your epidermis, that first layer, and it's like, not going to do that again.
Nope.
Yeah, so lesson learned for sure. But yeah, great explanation. I want to thank you for putting a lot of work into that. It was well done. Very well done. The question we had this morning, we'll go to that here really quickly. Just kind of trying to remember who sent it in. Morning brain fog. Yeah. Names are hard. Barb from Princeton is asking what a dry line is, and that's a timely question because we've been talking about a couple of these systems, actually a few recently coming in with a dry line setup. We know what a warm front is, we know what a cold front is, and if you don't, hit up Storm Track 8 University on WQAD.com. Morgan and I explain it there. But a dry line is like a cold front, but we're not dealing with warm and cold air. we're dealing with a difference in moisture. So with a dry line, and I'll give you an example here with real data, ahead of that dry line to the right, you've got a ton of moisture. You've got relatively warm temperatures. 86 is still pretty warm.
It is.
And you've got a dew point of 72. That would likely give you a heat index probably close to 100 degrees, if not in the upper 90s. But look at to the west of the dry line, the left-hand side. Very hot but very dry air. So that line is separating the difference in moisture. Why is it dry on the western side of the dry line? That's because the air coming down from the mountainous regions in the west, it sinks and it compresses. All of the moisture gets squeezed out of it, and that's what forms these dry lines. And you typically only see them, generally speaking, in the middle part of the country. They don't usually make it this far east because of vegetation. We got a lot of vegetation around here. The corn crop, the soybean crop, a lot of moisture. It's hard to get a dry line in here. But what happened most recently is that dry line indeed was able to make it in here a couple times actually in the last few weeks. And think of it as the same process as a cold front. It's lifting the air, but in this case, we're lifting moist air and we're forming that into thunderstorms. Dry lines are prolific thunderstorm producers, and they're also prolific tornado producers.
They are.
Storm chasers love a good dry line.
So they always target Oklahoma. Oklahoma and Texas, this is the big driver of their severe weather.
Yeah, it is dry line central there. They love the dry line. One of the reasons, not just because of tornado development, but because there's so much dry air involved in this process behind that, that oftentimes tornadoes are, one, easy to see, and two, they're very photogenic because some of these thunderstorms associated with dry lines don't have a ton of rain with them because you have that entrenchment or that entrapment of dry air. So that's why dry lines are so popular. Now, it's not usually the case here. We don't get photogenic, tornadoes and supercells with dry lines because we're working with a little more moisture. But that's why you're always going to see storm chasers go for the dry line, because of those photogenic tornadoes and storm structures.
I feel like they're also a little bit, I guess, easier to see too, because we get the rain wrap here a lot of the time.
We do. All the extra moisture, it just gets right into the storm. It's filled with rain. You can't see anything. And that's kind of what makes it dangerous around here too, especially in the next few months. As we increase that moisture, it's harder to see.
It is.
Yeah, makes it tricky for storm chasers in these parts. So those are our two questions we had this week, and a little brief synopsis weather-wise. We'll go ahead and we'll take your questions here for the remainder of our time with you here this morning up until the 9:30 hour. I hope everyone got through the storms last night unscathed. I know there was a couple of reports of damage as we just showed you there, but by and large, definitely, met expectations in that we weren't expecting widespread severe weather, just some scattered severe weather here and there, and that's pretty much what happened.
It is good news that we got that.
Yeah, glad we got through it.
Yes. First question comes from Matthew. Did Kiwani get a tornado yesterday? Because Kiwani got the warning. The warning kept on going off outside, didn't say anything, just kept on getting louder and louder.
There was a lot of siren activity yesterday. My goodness, the one in Geneseo just kept going and going and going. If you were watching the coverage with Chief Meteorologist James Harry yesterday, if you watched the polygons, the color on those polygons, you notice none of them were hot pink. They were just that standard pink color. When they're hot pink, that means there's a confirmed tornado on the ground with that particular warning. All of our tornado warnings yesterday were all radar indicated. We had nothing confirmed by spotters on the ground. We had nothing confirmed by law enforcement. So as of right now, what we know, based on the fact that we haven't gotten any reports consistent with tornado damage, and we have no reports of spotters or sheriffs or anybody else seeing a tornado, there were no tornadoes that touched down in the Quad Cities yesterday, including in Kiwani.
Good.
But if that changes, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Some damage may get reassessed in the days ahead. We'll see. But as of right now, nothing.
Nothing.
Yes.
Yes. Which is
Thankful.
good.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. What did the recent rain do for our drought conditions?
Recent rain is going to be a huge, huge helper. I can't remember if we checked in on this last week. If we didn't, my apologies. I usually try to check in every week on this.
I think we did.
But
briefly.
Did we briefly get into there?
Yes.
Okay. We'll have to see if there's any change here. It always takes me a minute to find that map because we just don't use it every day.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Just don't use it often enough.
No.
There we go. So we took a step backward
Last
week, yeah. And that wasn't too surprising because of how dry it had been. I mean, we had a multi-day stretch of some heat. We didn't get any storms with it because of the cap. So we actually took a step back in the drought status. Now, yellow, again, is not drought. that is pre-drought. That's just dry. The actual drought that you want to focus on is what's in that, I guess you'd call it like a taupe color, like a tan.
Kind of look deserty almost.
Yeah. And there's a way I can unclick the extra stuff. So there's where the actual drought is, right there. The rest of that yellow, again, pre-drought conditions, not too concerned. You can make it up really quickly. But that's the area that we really need the rain, and it's both south and north of our region. Everybody did pretty well, especially south, I think, in terms of rainfall with this event. North didn't do too bad. I can pull up that rainfall estimation again. And actually, I may still have it in my newscast from this morning, maybe. There it is. Ignore the banner on this one. It's not 24 hours, it's 48 hours. Well, and now it is 24 hours. It didn't save it. We can bump this to 48 hours. So ignore the banner. It's not 24. This is going to be 48. And honestly, that's looking pretty good. You know, we did get some heavier rains up there along Highway 20 there.
Yeah, I mean, and even portions of Wisconsin still did get some rainfall, and they still have chances for rainfall here as we continue through the week.
Yeah, so I'm liking that.
That's good news.
That's looking really good. And it also extended down to Burlington, Macomb, and south of Galesburg, where the drought was too. So again, we're not going to get this next week with the outlook, but we will get it in the following week. That's when we'll be able to see if it chipped away at some of that.
Yeah, and I think we'll be seeing most likely good news, you would assume, with the totals we've seen.
I bet that pre-drought gets wiped away at the Quad Cities again.
That would be my prediction.
Yeah.
For a large portion here of the region, that kind of goes away.
Yeah. And we've talked about the timing of this too. The fact that we got this rain now as we're getting into the end of May and into June, it was just that much more critical.
Yes.
We talked about the evaporation increasing next month and into July. So, you know, if we didn't have this yesterday and we weren't getting anything in the near future, boy, we'd be in a world of hurt here coming up.
So that would limit our storm potential as we get later into the season as well.
That's right. If you don't have the moisture, you don't have the storms.
Exactly. So we need that.
Good point.
Good.
Yeah.
Good news.
Very good news.
Matthew says family down in Huntsville had an emergency tornado threat down there. Yeah, that's where we saw another threat level further to our south yesterday. Again, that's where all the kind of crazy storms have been this year, severe storms, and that trend continued yesterday.
Yes, it's been so unfortunate ever since winter. You know, that season, that's where the storm track has been. And that's where it continues to reside. We occasionally get a taste of that storm track, but it's not very long term. It doesn't stay up here for more than a couple of days, and it shoots itself back down. So the folks down there in the south half of the country, even downstate Illinois, into downstate Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Tennessee valleys, have just been put through hell and back, literally, with these multiple rounds of storms.
I mean, they've continued, and that's also where we even saw the heavy snow. We did actually see heavy snowfall there.
Oh, yes.
Over the summer. Over the winter, and the heavy storms have been making their way through as well.
They just don't stop. No. It is absolutely incredible. We can pull up the storm reports nationwide.
And you're going to notice.
And look at that. I mean, my goodness.
Lots of heavy rain up here in the Great Plains and in the Midwest, but down south, tornadoes, winds, damage.
Yep.
That's where we're seeing it all, especially in that Kentucky, Tennessee area again. Because I know they saw some more storms yesterday.
It's been incredible. And the tornado count, too, continues to go up. I was looking at this the other day. I think we've now surpassed 2011 year to date. And that was, kind of one of the busiest years that we've had recently. I was going to recheck this morning because that number just climbs every day.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
There it is, 922 tornadoes for the year so far. In 2011, actually, no, we haven't yet. So there must have been another bigger day that moved in there. It's darn close, though.
Yeah. I mean, this is the second highest in the last 15 years, I would assume, it looks like.
Looks like it.
Yeah,
yep.
Second highest in the last 15 years when it comes to tornado totals.
And it's way above the average.
Yeah.
Not surprising when you look at this conglomeration and swath of damage and all that. Wow.
Yeah. And looks like we're going to get a little bit of a break for the next weekend, but still.
Yeah, it'll be back.
Season.
Yep.
So we still have all of June, the rest of May, and July.
Plenty of time for it to come back.
Let's see. Next question is Billy from Clinton. Hey, Billy, how are you?
Hey, good morning.
Mr. Zahara was talking about a vortmax and said that was the reason for the alert day. What is a vortmax and Why did it make the decision to issue the weather impact alert?
Sure. So what's interesting about these, what we call vortexes, is you think of them as mini areas of low pressure. I'm going to back this up to yesterday. We're going to go back 24 hours. We're going to use our little time machine here. And I'm going to stop the loop, and we're going to go right back to where we were yesterday. So this was what we call the vortex, a little mini area of low pressure that was spinning up from the southwest. Now, some of these are your traditional lows. They develop as any other low pressure system does. This one in particular, though, most likely came not with just a general area of low pressure, but it also came off of a thunderstorm complex that had formed the day before down well southwest of us in parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Those thunderstorm complexes, when they get so big, they can form their own mini areas of low pressure. And that's typically what drives our summertime thunderstorm threats, are those little, what we call vortexes. And we call them that. It's short for vorticity max. Long story short, just think of it as a mini low pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I saw we had 3 of them kind of scattered from west to east throughout Iowa yesterday, tracking its way towards this direction.
Yeah, you can see them in the satellite and radar loop there. There's one in Iowa going up to southern Minnesota. There's the one coming through here. And then you had another one down there in parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. Yep. So all 3 of them just kind of coming through. But it's just, that thing yesterday was so tightly wound. It's like, yeah. that's going to do something as it made its way up here. Very potent little piece of low pressure.
Especially on like a little mini boundary that it came with too.
Yep.
It was kind of, I think that was, part of the cold front, I believe.
Yes.
That moved through, if I remember correctly. So warm front was already well above us, causing that line further to the north.
Exactly.
So right off that cold front, that significant one off the stronger low further to the north, we got that little mini vort that kind of developed.
Exactly. And you can thank that boundary courtesy of Lake Michigan, by the way. The rain-cooled air bringing in that boundary. Very, very cool setup yesterday.
Yes. But that's what brought the storms. Don't have anything else right now. Time is 9:26.
Cool. We're just about there.
Just about there.
We'll give folks any last minute to get one in here. We'll probably give you about 90 seconds, and we'll go on to the next thing. But yeah, this is that vortex. That was a great question by Billy. This is something
Billy. Fantastic.
We're going to see a lot more of here in the months ahead, and they're so cool to look at on satellite.
It looks. I mean, I know it brought storms, but it's kind of almost pretty in a way. Just the way the setup from a meteorological perspective to study, very fascinating.
Yeah. When you've got the clearing like we had ahead of that, and I know we didn't get really much clearing here in the Quad Cities.
It was the clearing outside of it.
Yeah, just enough to the south of us. That really just lit up that radar. That radar started lighting up, I think it was during GMQC at 11.
Yeah, I remember right at the very end, we saw that line make its way through Muscatine.
Yeah. And, flash flood warning in Muscatine, too, with that. No wonder, because they had multiple rounds of those storms, and one of them just sat there for, it looks like, more than an hour. So, very active day yesterday. We're very thankful that it wasn't any worse than it could have possibly been. Thank goodness for that.
Thank goodness.
But yeah, we'll continue to kind of keep an eye on what the National Weather Service has to say in terms of the damage. I've been monitoring their chat this morning. They have not mentioned about doing any surveys or anything like that. And it likely is because, again, we had no confirmed sightings of any tornadoes. We had a couple of good twisting motions on the radar yesterday. We had the one near New Boston. There was also the one near Sheffield that prompted the tornado warning for Henry County and also into parts of Bureau County. But other than that, we really didn't see any confirmed yesterday.
Just maybe some rotation.
Yeah.
Broadband.
Sometimes it's hard for that rotation, even though if it's on radar, to reach the ground. So, radar kind of gives us that first warning, if you will.
Yes.
That something could be cooking, but it's never a guarantee that there's actually something on the ground. That we wait for that correlation coefficient drop.
Yep. Once that's, you can see those little debris balls in those.
Yes. And that's something maybe we'll do on another Ask Andrew, because a lot of folks aren't familiar with the correlation coefficient.
Explaining that.
Yeah, we'll show that as our debris tracker with radar. It's got a whole bunch of funky colors that make no sense to the average person. But maybe that's something we'll do a deeper dive into perhaps next week, because a lot of folks, I think, are interested about how that works and what it means and stuff like that. So there's an idea.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
We can pull up that Greenfield tornado. That has a great debris ball. I have that for you.
Great example.
And that's 1 year anniversary today of that very sad EF4 tornado. Just
monster.
West of Des Moines.
That is a monster. Another reminder, it's that time of year. Got to keep tracking them.
Yeah.
And take them seriously. All right. That's the last call. I want to thank you guys for joining us here this morning on a soggy Wednesday. looking forward to some sunshine later this week.
We are.
Yes, we'll be back here same time, same place next week for a new episode of Ask Andrew Live. If we didn't get to your question in time or you're watching this on the DVR, head to WQAD.com, hit the weather tab, look for Ask Andrew. You can submit your question there, and I'll likely answering it during GMQC in the coming days and weeks. You guys have a great Wednesday. Take care, Quad Cities.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 8 Plus app everywhere you stream.